Welcome to this rapid revision session on Billy the Kid. Law and order in the American West, which we sometimes call the Wild West, fairly or not, is one of the aspects of this course most steeped in mythology, and Billy the Kid is no different. We're going to try and uncover the real Billy the Kid here, and also consider what his legacy was and why he became so famous and, weirdly, so popular. Billy the Kid. Why did he turn to crime? One of the reasons that we study Billy the Kid is it can help us understand why other people turn to crime in the so-called Wild West as well. Here are some key reasons. Poverty. Stealing was an easy answer for those struggling to afford to live. Conflict over resources. There was conflict between ranchers and homesteaders, as I've covered in previous videos. Big ranchers and small ones, and the Indians. Fear and intimidation. People were too scared of the powerful gangs to stand up to them and stop them. But also a sense of independent attitudes. Men sorted out their own problems, often with violence. Killing in self-defense wasn't actually against the law. But there's also other aspects, like geography. Territories were large. There were plenty of places for the gangs to hide out, and they probably wouldn't be found. Because there was a weak justice system. Corruption meant that governors and law officers were often bribed by criminal gangs and just left them alone. There were also problematic lawmen. There were few honest, reliable men prepared to take on the difficult, dangerous job of being a lawman. After all, they'd only make themselves a target for the gangs. Many had themselves been criminals before. And then there's vigilante justice, as we might have seen with the gold rush. Captured criminals were often lynched, ruining the idea of justice and fair trials. We'll consider how some of these things apply to Billy the Kid too. So why did Billy turn bad? Let's consider his early life. Billy the Kid grew up in mining camps in New Mexico. He never held down a steady job, and when he was 14 or 15, he got into trouble for stealing butter. He kept on stealing, including cattle rustling, which means stealing cows from the open range, and horse stealing. Billy gained a reputation for being able to escape jail. The Lincoln County War. In 1878, Billy got involved in a conflict over resources between cattle baron John Chisholm, who owned a huge ranch in New Mexico, and settlers and smaller ranchers desperate for land. Opponents of Chisholm gathered around a rancher called Murphy. Billy fought for Chisholm against Murphy's gang. But that led to Billy's private war. Billy lost a friend in the Lincoln County War. Although Murphy had been killed and the war ended, Billy kept hiding out with the support of local Mexicans, as he promised to kill anyone he considered involved in his friend's death. So clearly Billy's on a downward spiral of violence by this point. But then we've got to consider the issues of law and order. Local ranchers appealed to the president to end the violence in New Mexico. He appointed a new governor. A new sheriff was appointed specifically to deal with Billy the Kid. His name, Pat Garrett. Billy's capture, escape and death. Pat Garrett cornered Billy the Kid, captured him and brought him to court. The judge sentenced him to death, but the guards at the jail were careless and Billy made a dramatic and murderous escape. Garrett succeeded in tracking him down again at Fort Sumner and shot him dead. Let's have a look at Garrett too. You could always tell a good Wild West lawman by his moustache. You could set your watch by that. Anyway, I'm only being silly. Why did such a violent criminal like Billy the Kid become such a hero to so many people? Why is he still so famous now? Why did this very photograph of Billy the Kid, the only one known in existence, sell for millions of dollars? So why do some consider Billy to be a hero? The facts. Billy the Kid was a violent, notorious thief and murderer. He was a villain, but some people admired him as a romantic figure. Why? Well, the newspapers and cheap books of the time wrote exciting stories of his crimes. Powerless people, such as ethnic minorities, poor people and small farmers, liked how he stood up to the big businessmen. Most of his violent acts were while he was a hired gun in fighting between unpopular cattle barons, so people didn't really see him as a murderer. People didn't like the justice system either, as it was too weak to deal with Billy the Kid. Everyone likes an underdog after all. Even Pat Garrett said after Billy escaped, "I knew now that I would have to kill the kid." There's Pat again. Look at that moustache. Oh, I've been over that. Anyway, let's look at some final points then. Some final points. There were many social, economic and even geographical reasons that people in the West turned to crime. Billy the Kid grew up in poverty, made ends meet as a hired gun and got grudges along the way. Lawmen like Pat Garrett could be problematic too. See also Wyatt Earp, who I'll cover in a separate video. Also, popular culture like the books of the time and Wild West films ever since have idolised figures like Billy the Kid, romanticising their violence and turning them into underdog anti-heroes. And on that note, we'll conclude. That's the end of this rapid revision video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope it's been useful to you, and if it has, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If there's a different topic that you're desperate for me to do some rapid revision videos on, put a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.